Hello friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are watching day 3 of Polly's Paper Studio, 12 Days of Christmas in July. If you're just getting started, I will leave links in the top of the description so you can check out our previous videos in the series. Today we are creating a beauteous Shabby Chic inspired Christmas greeting card with all of the layering and beautiful handmade flowers. So stick with me and we will make this together. Okay friends, here is the Christmas collection I'm working with today. This is the Stamperia Pink Christmas, and if there is a more beautiful Shabby Chic Christmas collection, I have yet to find it. I think this is absolutely stunning. It has florals and deer and Santas and all the beautiful roses and the most gorgeous tones of pinks and greens, and it is absolutely the most beautiful pink Christmas paper ever. So I am going to create my card on a base that is 6 by 6, and I've already put some coordinating pattern paper on the inside, and I'll just begin to layer the top. So when I looked at that collection, I knew I would not be able to match very effectively the cardstock to the pink. So I decided I would just stick with this beautiful soft gray color to act as a nice border for my paper layers. So this is the only cardstock layer I'm adding. Normally I separate each pattern, but because this is Shabby Chic, instead of using that border, I'm going to bring in some tattered edges. Here is my first layer, and no, this did not come from the collection. I just couldn't bear to cut into another sheet of paper that was going to be hidden under all the layers. So this is just another piece from my stash, and I thought it went pretty well. I did use that tool to distress the edges, and so that's going to be a textural element. It does give it a little bit of bulk, but it's mostly just for an added detail. So my first layer that I'm going to raise has foam between the layers, and I'm still just using that distress tool to give a tattered edge. That kind of gives it a little bit of instant age as well, I think. Here's my first real pattern, and I just never usually cut out the center with a die, but I could not bear to lose that beautiful rose pattern, so I cut out a layer that I'm going to use in a bit from this one, and then it will be covered with the focal image. So I'm still just bringing that right in the center, and instead of my smaller border size, I went ahead and went with 1/4 inch, and that gives me enough of the patterns below it to show. I can also come in here and reinforce that tattered edge, kind of give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, so here is the beginning of my focal point, and this is the Amazing Paper Grace die of the month for July. This is a beautiful intricate sort of doily frame, and I cut that with a crisp white cardstock, and I also cut a layer of the beautiful pink, so that goes underneath and it creates a nice background for the focal image. It doesn't fit exactly on, I'm just adding it at a slight angle so that I don't have any fragile bits hanging off the side. And here is the piece that I cut out of that previous layer. You can't really blame me for wanting to hang on to those roses because they are absolutely the most vintagey, beautiful shade of pink. And I'm just covering up that center of that die cut. And that will just go there. It gives it a little bit of an extra detail as well because I cut it with an oval die that has a stitched edge, so that gives it a nice finished look. Here is my focal image, and that collection has a variety of different tag images, and those tags have a different holiday style on each one. So you'll get a Santa, one has a cat, one has a deer, lots of beautiful images with the pink tones. So I'm going to include that right here, and I pop that up on foam tabs, so that brings another layer of dimension. I also included an eyelet here, and put a little bit of heavier baker's twine through. That's not the usual burlap string that I normally use. This is a little bit sturdier and a little thicker. I'm offsetting this tag a bit because I have a couple of flower arrangements prepared and I need a little bit of extra room on this side. So I have created these flowers with my Cinch and Go poinsettia. That's a Spellbinders die. I picked that up on Amazon and I really absolutely love it for creating flowers that coordinate with my projects. For this one I went with a pink, and the larger flower in the center is made with some glitter paper. I don't know if you can actually see the shiny glitteriness of that as well, but it really kind of ties in all of that soft colors and a little bit of sparkle. And I also added a little faux snow to the tips of these pink poinsettias, and then when that dried I added a layer of stickles, so it has a little bit of dimension and then it looks opaque. It doesn't look like the pink shining through the glitter, and so that adds a frosty effect. I put a little bit of die cut foliage in here to fill that in, that burlap string, and then each side has a large glittery star, so that helps to balance it out. And then I've also added my bow. So this is a pretty little plaid from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and it's just anchored on the bottom so that it helps to fill in that corner. I've also got a smaller arrangement, just 2 flowers for this one, and then the bow, and that will go up here. Let's add this one first. So this really will anchor that corner, and I'm just being careful not to totally cover those beautiful roses from that pattern that I so carefully saved from the layering. And I picked a couple of small snowflake charms. I'm going to add them here, and then I'll just add my flowers to the top, and that will disguise the string. This smaller arrangement will help to balance the larger one on the other corner. Got my sequins again. I went with those assorted moonshine sequins, and I'm just gonna sprinkle a little on here to help add a little bit of detail to the top of the image. I like picking ones of different sizes, so that's a little bit more interesting. And I can tack those down with my Tombow. Last but not least, I think I'm gonna bring in my crystal stickles and add just a little bit of detail where the Santa costume has a faux fur and his beard a little bit. I'm not covering the entire image, I'm just highlighting that area. He's got trim down the front of his coat as well, and it looks like there's some kind of throw in the sleigh that he's sitting on, so let's give that a little highlight as well. Okay, so that is all for day 3. We created this Shabby Chic inspired Christmas greeting card with the Pink Christmas collection from Stamperia. I picked that up from the Funky Junky Boutique. I've also got my beautiful die cut here. That is the July die of the month from Amazing Paper Grace, and I've got trims from Really Reasonable Ribbon. If you want to check out those products, I will leave links in the description below, as well as links for all our social media sites. If you enjoyed this project on day 3, don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 4 as we continue our series, and make sure to drop me a comment and give me a thumbs up. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I thank you so much for watching.